For everyone else.
Yeah, thanks. So yes, I'm Richard Corns from the National Oceanography Centre based in Southampton, and as Paul said, this is the report card that we've just published on the changes in sea temperature around the UK and Irish seas. We brought together a team that consisted of experts in modelling and also expertise in understanding the observed record of sea temperature change. And in this presentation, I'm going to follow the format of the report. I'm going to start off by outlining the evidence we presented in the report about historic changes in sea temperature, move on to the information about the projections, and we have some new results presented in this report on that. And then in the last two slides, I'm going to look at the how confident we are in this information, and conclude with information about emerging issues that arose following this report update. So this report was very much an update to the previous temperature report that was released a couple of years ago. Slightly slimmed down version, but so we started off in the report by looking at the large-scale trends in SST globally and across the Northern Hemisphere, and we can see from those data that the last 8 years globally have been the warmest in the SST record. This plot here shows the information from the NSST4 dataset. In terms of the trend in temperature around the seas around the UK and Ireland, the top 10 warmest years occurred after 1989, and 9 out of 10 of those occurred after 2002. So we can see this increasing trend in temperature across the region. So of course, superimposed on those broad scale trends, there are regional differences. Across the domain we looked at, there's a clear west-east split in the trends, so there's strong positive and significant trends over the last, say, 40 years in the southern North Sea, part of the extending sort of north to the North Sea as well. But across the west of the British Isles and the Irish Isles out towards the central North Atlantic, the trends are much lower and are not significant across that region. Now this reduced trend across the west is a kind of extension to this phenomenon that's known as the cold blob, although it goes by several names. That's probably the most widely used. And so we looked at information from the ESA SSI CCI SST dataset. This plot here shows the annual average anomalies, and the negative anomalies there are clearly shown. They wax from year to year, but it's a persistent feature of the temperature across that region, and the work is ongoing in this region to understand this phenomenon, and it appears to be related to the input of fresh water to the region in combination with large-scale modes of atmosphere and ocean variability. So a new section that we included in this report was on marine heat waves and cold waves, and this is a very a subject that's receiving a lot of attention at the moment, and many papers are being published on the subject seemingly on a weekly basis. And most of that work has focused on the seas around Australia, where of course the most severe extreme events occur. But marine heat waves have been detected in most ocean basins, and of course we looked at information focused on the north, the area of interest, and we can see from the information that the frequency of marine heat waves has increased in this region, particularly to the north of the domain. And in fact, the magnitude of the increase here is one of the largest observed globally. So in terms of the sort of second section of the report, what could happen in the future? The previous MCCIP temperature report used the projections that had been prepared as part of the DEFRA Minerva project. The sea temperature had not been updated in the UK CIP 2018 report, but we were able, via our co-authors at the Met Office, to release some early results from a new modelling run that's being done as part of the 4th UK Climate Change Risk Assessment report that's due out in a few years' time. But we looked at the annual mean SST change from these new model runs, and the models use HADGEM 3 that are connected to the NEMO ocean model. And we include in the report information on the change in annual mean SST from current conditions compared to end of the century projections. And what we're seeing in these new model runs is greater warming across the northwest of the European shelf seas region, but reduced warming across the northwest of the domain in general and across the North Sea. So the report didn't just look at SST, we looked at temperature change throughout the water column. And in terms of the near bottom temperature change, we used the information from the NWS reanalysis data set. Now this is somewhat limited because it only extends back to 1993, so it doesn't, the derivation of long-term trend is somewhat limited with this data set. But for the warmest season, the autumn season, for this variable, we see a significant increase in trend across the southern North Sea, but not across the other areas of the domain. Now, in terms of the projections kind of follow that pattern seen over the last 30 years of increasing trends, increasing temperature across the southern North Sea. So in terms of the assessment of the confidence in this information and these data, we agreed that there was high level of agreement and a high amount of evidence for the historic changes, and this is really based on the decades of work in understanding temperature change, and in some cases the temperature series extend back over into the mid-19th century. Now, although the marine heat waves is a new line of inquiry in this report, it is based on well-established data sets of SST, so we were confident to keep the high categories with the addition of that subject. Now, in terms of the future projections, we concluded there was a high level of agreement, but a medium amount of evidence, and the high confidence. So we have high confidence in the rise in SST at the large scales, but at regional scales, particularly across the northwest shelf seas, there's less consensus. And in the report, we include information about the positive results that are coming in terms of the scale in winter season projections of sea temperature, but more work is required on that subject. So in terms of future improvements that we can make to this evidence base, really there's a need to connect the open ocean information to more local and regional shelf sea data. Now, although I said we have a lot of work that's been done on the gridded data sets, the continued improvements to those data is important. We didn't include a section on marine air temperature in this report because we felt that we don't currently have a true measure of marine air temperature that is of a high enough spatial resolution. And in terms of the climate projections, well, we need to understand better the range of uncertainty in the projections at a variety of scales, but from particularly in the seasonal projections. So that's my last slide. I'd just like to thank the MCCIP office for their efforts in organising this update. Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you for that, Richard. So I can see some questions are starting to come in.